Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and thank you for all of you for coming. Before I start making my few remarks by using 25 slides, I just wanted to recognize a few of my friends over here, especially my friend Asanka, who is the Director General of the Kadiragam Institute, is here. I am very grateful that you came. And also my friend Ajit Koloni, who happened to be a lecturer in this place several years back. Now he's a professor at the University. And several colleagues and friends are here as well. And also wanted to thank you, Brigadier General Rao Gunasekara, for inviting me and your leadership. Thank you, Vice Chancellor, Brigadier General Mahinda Felix, for inviting me. And thank you. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about Sri Lanka. Oh, by the way, I just also wanted to recognize another friend of mine who is just coming down, Mr. Dayasiri Fernando, who is the Director General of Commerce for Sri Lanka. And he was a commissioner in Australia and several other countries. And he's also a good friend of mine. We both went to same high school in Polonnaruwa, and he and I also roommates at the Sri Javatanapura University. Thank you, Mr. Fernando, and thank you for coming. So, I'm going to talk about the geopolitics in the Indian Ocean and how Sri Lanka fitted into this larger power place, especially with the context of Sri Lanka's dealing with China, America, and our neighbor India. And also how that large scheme of things fit into the American vision for America, American vision for the world, which I expounded on my previous book, Trade for Peace. So I am going to talk about how American vision is advancing by the other power players by using trade as a means to achieve world peace. So after my presentation, I would invite you to have a conversation so we can have a dialogue about some thoughts I'm going to express to you. Let me say a few things about Sri Lanka, the way I conceptualize this presentation. Sri Lanka has never been an island. Even though you call it an island, it has never been an island. It has always had trade and diplomatic relations that went back to the ancient kingdoms in Asia and ruling empires in Europe. Trade linkages in the form of goods, services and knowledge connected Sri Lanka with the rest of the world. The trade knowledge is as important as Portuguese, the Dutch and the British, who also brought Christianity to the primarily Buddhist nation. Many centuries before colonialism, Buddhism came to the island from India. Sri Lanka then propagated Buddha's noble teaching around the world. Arab traders introduced Islam. Indian rulers promoted Hinduism. Today, Sri Lanka is a multi-religious, multi-ethnic and multilingual nation. The island, with its diverse and highly educated entrepreneurial population, is strategically located in the Indian Ocean, which has increasingly been great interest to the United States, China and India. As in ancient time, trade and safe passage through the Indian Ocean has become a national security matter for each of these countries. far and near, and also ourselves in this country. So trade is the key word which I am talking about. When you look at the international geopolitics, everything is driven by national interest. What is good for your own country? It is by nature. Each nation acts on their self-interest. The interplay of various national interests for their own security has become a dynamic part of real politics in international relations. We may observe these geopolitical behaviors in realism as opposed to idealism. Former British Prime Minister Lord Palmerston captured the very essence of geopolitics when he said, "We have no eternal allies and we have no perpetual enemies. Our interests are eternal and perpetual, and those interests is our duty to follow." This formula could easily be applied to better understand the geopolitical interest in the drama that we are seeing in the Indian Ocean. So when you look at the Indian Ocean, it is the third largest ocean after Atlantic and Pacific, which is strategically connected Africa with Australia, nearly 10,000 kilometers. The Indian Ocean touched the source of 47 countries. In terms of the size, the Indian Ocean is almost 6 times bigger than the United States. This is the US. You can put US here in the Indian Ocean from Africa to Australia 6 times in this region. To get a sense of the scale, the size of Sri Lanka fits comfortably inside the Lake Superior, one of the 5 lakes in America. This is 5 lakes: Lake Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, Ontario. These 5 lakes are located in the center, almost center of the US. So, how small is to understand, you can put the Sri Lanka here. Sri Lanka has 25,000 square miles and Lake Superior has 31,000. So Sri Lanka can fit into lake here, right over here. So you can see how small the island is compared to America. So even though Sri Lanka is very small, it doesn't matter. The size of Sri Lanka does not really matter at all. It is all about geopolitical location, dynamic history, and geopolitics. For example, the physical landmass of Israel or Singapore does not matter. They are small, just like Sri Lanka is, like Israel and Singapore. It is all about history and geography, two ancient disciplines of time and space to acquire knowledge. That knowledge is required to gain the power through geostrategic calculus. In order to understand the geostrategic calculus of America, we have to understand that where that mindset comes to American thinking and landscape. American strategist Admiral Alfred Mahan noted that whoever controlled the Indian Ocean dominated Asia. His ideas were formulated by observing the behavior of colonial powers and trading nations of the ancients. The Admiral writing influenced the ensuing generation of American strategists to think about the United States as a global nation. In fact, the ideas espoused by the founding fathers of America were related to promoting trade and commerce that united 13 original colonies and the nations together for global peace. So if you look at the founding fathers, There are many of them. I selected 3, who are in the first administration of the United States. Alexander Hamilton, to your left, is an influencing founding father. He was not only the first Secretary of the Treasury in the George Washington administration, but also the pioneer of the American economic and financial system. He played a pivotal role in increasing the US Navy to protect international trade in high seas. Hamilton said that a commercial republic like ours will never be disposed to waste. He also had an arch-rival US Secretary of the State, Thomas Jefferson. He agreed with Hamilton, even though they don't like each other. They agreed when they come to trade and commerce. Jefferson said, commerce with all nations, alliance with none, should be our motto. President George Washington concurred when he wisely remarked that our commercial policy should hold an equal and impartial hand in dealing with the native Indians, 13 states, and other nations. These ideas are actually reflected in the Commerce Clause of the US Constitution and in the architectural design of the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. In essence, the strategic plan of America is trade, because trade brings prosperity and security to all nations. So when you look at this, how trade can be used for integrating the other countries into one global community. These rivalry ideas coming from 2 different founding fathers. It was between Hamilton and Jefferson. If we can understand the ideas of Jefferson and Hamilton, we can understand America's behavior in the world. In Virginia, that's where Jefferson was born and raised. He advocated grassroots village